I want to welcome everybody to the Daily Cheat Sheet here with the core three and the new guy, Guy Goldstein, and he's the Neil Peart of this band. And I want to welcome everybody. The dude is here, very exciting. And Mend, I want to go to you right away. Listen, Tucker Carlson went after Chabad, and it's been great for Chabad because they've done massive fundraising off of his hate campaign. Now, Mend, you grew up Chabad. I'm very familiar with Chabad. Chabad helped save my life. They're some of the kindest and nicest people. World Order, not one of them, okay? All they want to do is sing, dance, and drink, man. And you could switch the order around if you'd like, man. These are some of the most peaceful, kind humans. But creating a new world order, not in the Chabad playbook. And just before you go, man, I want to explain how this works. Chabad are like Jewish missionaries, except they don't proselytize non-Jews. They just get to try and find Jews all over and bring them closer to Judaism. And if a rabbi goes and builds a place, let's say in Mesa, Arizona, it's self-supporting through their own contributions. The only way that Chabad could stay is if he raises enough money. So there isn't like some grand wizard Chabad, okay? And men, go for it.
Yeah, so it's important to point out a couple of things. One is, you're right, Chabad is a missionary type organization, but they don't proselytize to other religions. They're not trying to convince other people to join the religion. I was talking about this with my wife yesterday, and we were saying it's a fatal flaw in Judaism and a little bit in Catholicism, because the Muslims will come to a village, put a sword to everybody's throat, which is why they have swords on all their flags. There's a reason that half the world got colonized by the Muslims. Put a sword to your throat, you got to say 3 words, and poof, you're a Muslim. The Jews, you got to do 3 years of studying. They tell you no 100 times. They try to send you away. They say, are you nuts? Why do you want to join us? Do you know our history? All this stuff. And if you still do, what's that?
Amazing. When you say, okay, you've done all the things, do you want to convert? You say, yes. No, you don't want to convert.
Right.
And that's the whole test. You actually
have bargaining. That's when the bargaining really starts. But men, continue.
Yeah, it is an exercise in learning how to negotiate. But it's 3 times. They're going to send you away 3 times. And then the 4th time, if you still want to do it, they'll give you a chance. But, attacking Chabad like this, and the core of his attack is that they want to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Woo! Every single prayer in the Jewish religion is about returning to Zion, Israel, Jerusalem, and the rebuilding of the temple. Ooh, Tucker, you got us.
But can I point out for a second why it's so fundamentally anti-Semitic? Because Christianity is waiting for the return of Jesus Christ, and Islam is waiting for the Mahdi, and every other major religion has a prophecy of a restoration of its golden era. But the fact that the Jews dare have that dream somehow makes them the grand conspirators behind all of Tucker's nightmares.
But the Christians actually believe that the Jews have to rebuild the temple, and then Jesus is going to come back to the temple. And that's why you have a lot of this overlap with a lot of Christians are very, very supportive of the state of Israel.
But their faith is still waiting for something to go back to the way. Again, their faith is still waiting for a restoration in order to bring about.
Right. You guys are messing up. You guys are missing the point. The point is, Chabad is not a political movement in any way, shape, or form. It's not a lobbying group.
I was about to go. Can I get to you for 1 second? Go. I found Chabad when I knew about it my whole life. It would be impossible growing up in Brooklyn if you didn't. But when I was in rehab in Israel, this big rabbi from Chabad, not a big rabbi, but he was him and his wife had translated, I want to say 80% in different languages of the Hasidic tale books. And Mend is very familiar with these books. They're amazing stories. And basically, Chabad was founded. It comes from this rabbi whose name is the Baal Shem Tov. All that really means, Mend, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, is his name is good, right?
Yeah, the guy with the good name. He had
the guy with the good name. And what happened was Jews were so displaced that they didn't know how to be Jews. So the Baal Shem Tov found the way through singing and dancing. That was how he was going to get people closer to Judaism, not by the written word, but through the spiritual aspect of it, go on. So I think it's really important to get the etymology of it. It was just this movement of people that were so lost because they had been so displaced by people like Tucker Carlson. And,
well, the real root of it is Chabad was the first religious sect, especially at that time, that said that everybody's welcome. Anyone within the faith is welcome. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you don't know how to pray. You could come in and sing and dance, and that'll be good enough because God doesn't need your words. He just needs your heart. And that was their big thing.
In shorts. You could go to synagogue however you want. Go on. Sorry, go ahead, and we'll go together.
No, to me, we can talk about the history. We can talk about what it meant to us. We can talk about all this other stuff. But the bottom line is, this is a group of people that are not wealthy. It's not like they're flying around on private jets. In fact, there is no centralized anything when it comes to Chabad. Every single Chabad house is its own little nonprofit. They have to continually raise money. And what are they doing? They're having holiday meals. They'll help travelers. When I used to go to, when I arrived in Thailand, I didn't know where to go. First thing you do, you go to a Chabad house. You're like, hey, where do I go for a meal around here? They're like, we got a meal right here for you. Chill out, wrap some tefillin, relax. They're answering religious questions. It's just the chillest. It's a little community center. These are the people. It's like saying the Amish are ISIS. It makes no sense. The idea that this is who he's attacking it's like he's said so many insane things at this point, so many things that are verifiably false, so many things that are like, I don't even mean verifiably false, like you have to go doing some research and you have to Pelican brief this thing. Just insanity, just stuff that is just out of control. But when you start to do this, when you start to say the Girl Scouts selling you the cookies are actually the ones who are running the banks, like you're just saying stuff where you're like, oh, tinfoil hat, it's time to dismiss. And at this point, the fact that there's anyone still listening means that there is something fundamentally broken with humanity, not just Tucker Carlson.
Guy, you're from Australia, and the Bondi Beach thing was Chabad. So Chabad has already been murdered, attacked for many years past recently, right, man? If I'm not mistaken. There have been quite a few attacks against Chabad.
There was in upstate New York as well.
Yeah. So the title of this show with Tucker is going to get them killed is not a stretch, Guy, because
this is not hyperbole at all.
At all, because go ahead, Guy.
It's absolutely not hyperbole. Chabad are often the targets of the most extreme anti-Semitic violence because they're very visibly Jewish in a way that other people understand as visibly Jewish. They wear the black jackets and the white shirts and the hats and the tzitzit, the tassels. And so they're very visibly Jewish, but their entire purpose is to be out there, to be engaging with people and making people feel closer to Judaism. So they're both visible and public. And as a result, things like Bondi are exactly what their purpose is. Why did they put on the Hanukkah event at Bondi? Because the Jewish community in Sydney is dispersed amongst lots of different synagogues, lots of different small communities. They put on a big event with open doors where they welcome thousands of people. And for them, that's their purpose in life. It brings them so much joy just to have put on an event where thousands of people could come and light candles and eat donuts. And it's been like that for 20 years. I used to go to those when I was at university, and they'd say, come. You'll meet a nice young girl. You'll find a nice young girl they've met university age, but you'll find a wife. I'll introduce you to some people. Because this was what they wanted to do. They wanted to build Jewish communities and help Jews find a home. It makes them very prominent, very visible, and very easy to target. They're targeted a lot on the streets in the States as well, particularly the
list is incredibly long as to where these people have been attacked, and a lot of the attacks that you know about have targeted Chabadniks without you even realizing it. The Mumbai attacks in 2008, they specifically were targeting the Chabad house. And this is, I can give you a bunch of examples.
There was a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of them. And that's,
so I want to go to Mend. I want to go to Mend quickly, if you guys don't mind, because Mend, you brought up something before the show, and you asked a question that 5 months ago, or 3 months ago, or 2 months ago, you probably would not have asked. And that was, why is JD Vance essentially not doing anything about this? And what I find remarkably interesting about your question, and listen, that's not a knock on you in any way. In any way, I appreciate oftentimes your caution before exclamation points. And, you know, we're seeing Qatar and Saudi Arabia cutting him off, right? They came out and they said, no, it was not the Mossad who are planning on bombing us. That was Iran. So he's like lost literally in 2 days. Saudi Arabia and Qatar have called Tucker Carlson out. They've excommunicated him, but JD Vance can't, man. And it's a great.
So I think it's a leap to say that they've excommunicated him. I think he is now, and that's why I was asking.
Okay, forget about the leap. Forget about the leap. They've been harsher on Tucker
than JD has. Yes,
than JD has.
And
I want to hear your JD take, men.
The president and this administration is in an active hot war, kinetic war with Iran. JD is friends with Tucker, and Tucker is actively working to sabotage that entire agenda. So what I said is that at this juncture, where we are now, we're at a split in the road, and JD has to pick a side.
Why not a fork?
And I know that, and the fork in the road. And I get it that you guys believe that he's been here all along, and I might have been wrong when I...
No, we're not. I'm not. By the way, I wasn't attacking. You know that.
No, I get it. I understand that.
I say to you, thank you on the phone all the time.
Finally and I've been saying this a lot, where I like to speak about the overt things versus the subtexts. And I get it, especially with you, Golan. You read those subtexts and you know what's coming. And I say, don't act on it. Let's wait. There's enough real stuff out there. And you keep on saying, mend, all the signs are here. It walks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. And I'm like, no, it's not a duck yet. Hold on.
I think it will wait until people are killed to start realizing that people are going to get killed.
I thought you'd give me the credit. My God, I'm the one that's been. The predictor of.
No, predictor. You've been the predictor, but Golan has been reading the tea leaves in a way that he's been telling me about, and I'm saying no, not yet. Well, now I'm finally at the point where I'm like, there's no more wiggle room. Now he has to pick a side. It's black or white. This is where I like to jump in and say, all right, JD, what are you going to do? Are you on Team Tucker? Are you on, this is what I believe it comes down to. Does JD believe that it's worth it for him to kind of straddle the fence here and not piss off the Tucker base in the hopes that they come out in force for him in 2028? Or is he completely torpedoing himself? Like it's one or the other. And I think he's picking that.
You just brought up a great point. Golan, men just brought up a great point, and without realizing, actually, it was a great point.
I always realize it's a great point.
No, you don't, because you're not taking it to the next step forward. When President Trump called out Tucker Carlson, he was calling out his own son. Okay, he was calling out Don Jr. because Don Jr. sits on the board of 1789 Capital, which is the original funders and Malik of Tucker Carlson. So Trump actually chose right versus his own son. And this is the JD problem, is his through line through his life is he's not a loyal person to the people, to many of those around him, over and over and over again. Sorry, Mend, if you want to add on to that, please.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right with the son that's not the favorite. He's not running Trump organization. He kind of got shifted to the side.
Not kind of.
Yeah, he's completely sidelined, and he aligned himself with these lunatics and grifters that he thinks are going to make him a lot of money, and maybe they will. But it's great to see the president with his moral compass has not wavered. President is doing what he's been saying he's been going to do, necessarily him going to do, but he's been talking about Iran. I saw a video today from 1980.
Yeah, he's been forever.
He's been talking about them forever.
You know, I got to tell you what I think was the boiling point, and I love Laura Loomer, Golan, but this is sometimes when she goes off the rails a little bit. I truly love what she does. I think Jared Kushner. You know, Jared Kushner is a member of Chabad. That's where he goes and prays when he's in Washington. Right. Can you? I mean, and so do President Trump's grandchildren.
No, me and his dad went to the same temple.
Yeah, so Tucker, in a sense, Golan, is putting out a hit on the president's grandchildren and daughter and son-in-law. And I don't use those words lightly. He is making them a moving target. And it's no coincidence that that came right before that.
I think that's 100% correct. This is, you're saying like, oh, I'm couching it in this language. You're not couching it in anything. This is exactly what it is. He has said things now that are, I don't, whether they're designed or not designed for it, they are absolutely putting targets on the backs of Jews and targets on the backs of the Chabadniks, the rabbis, and the followers. There is no situation in which you have millions of people, and he does have millions of people who listen to him, that are going to hear him say that the Chabadniks and the Chabad followers are trying to destroy America, are trying to destroy the Middle East, are trying to destroy Iran, are trying to destroy the temple, or the reason why we're at war, or the reason why Americans are going to get killed. This is basically saying, hey, if you don't take them out, you are not doing the moral thing for his followers. And his followers are going to hear that. Many of them, if they're listening to him, there's something wrong with them already. And many of them are going to act. We already know that many of the people, especially in this horseshoe theory world that we live in, we know that many people are totally cool with political violence, right? The killing of CEOs, the killing of diplomats, etc. Why is this any different for those people who think, I'm going to be the freedom fighter that's going to get on the news, I'm going to be the guy who's going to save the world? Why wouldn't they? He is absolutely putting people in danger.
And Guy, I'll continue. I don't think he's just putting Jews in danger. What he's putting Christians in danger too, with his bastardization of the New Testament. I mean, this guy is literally not just a national security risk. He's a literal risk. I mean, you have a guy with a massive platform screaming some of the most incendiary comments about about religions being the cause of why we're fighting this war. And you're gonna, what is the next thing? Remember, I used to say this about Trump all the time. It was something I spoke about on the World According to Ben Stein for years. Right? You prosecute him. What was after prosecuting? What was after this? What was after this? Butler was next, right? It was the next logical progression, Guy.
Yeah. So first of all, Golan's 100% right when he says the permission structures exist today, particularly amongst young people, for political violence. That is now the way they understand the world, and that's a problem that we're going to be dealing with for a while. It may be a genie that the left let out of the bottle, but it's on the right, it's on the left, and it's something that we haven't seen the end of in people under the age of 30.
Guy, you said something to me today. I'm just going to quote you, and then I'm going to let you finish. You said, young people understand memes. They just don't understand good and evil. And you and I were not talking about this subject. You were speaking in general, and it chilled me to my bones. I think you're 100% right about it.
I hope you're not getting sick again. Go on, Guy.
No, but it's the same fundamental thing. We were talking about the video that the White House put out that was all about using pop culture references about finishing the job. You don't know what I'm capable of. And one of the, we were saying it was great mimetically, but there were a lot of people that were actually there were a lot of
villains.
Anti-heroes
and straight up villains. Yeah.
Yeah. Saul from Better Call Saul and the guy from Breaking Bad, like lots of people who you're supposed to understand are morally bad people. But because they were the heroes of the shows that they were in,
Kylo Ren and
the nature of youth culture is they actually don't have that distinction that we have in our generations. And so,
can I tell you something interesting about that? When I was a kid, and Golan will get the show. One of my favorite shows was a show called Wise Guy, and I loved 21 Jump Street too. But Wise Guy was about a guy that Ken Wall, who to infiltrate the mob, he worked for like a government organization. He had to go to prison for 1.5 years. And he was like the hero in the story. And they would have those types of discussions. You always knew who the hero was. And it was always the Ken Wall character. And Guy, we're living in a different generation. You're right. When people watch The Sopranos, Tony Soprano's the hero. Listen, Martin Scorsese has done a hell of a job in making Goodfellas look good.
Right. And so what you wind up with is a generation who are incredibly good at communication, right? The video was an excellent video. not because it was morally on the right page, but because it was a really good way of making a clip that attached to a lot of different people's cultural reference points and very quickly just said, we're going to win. But the moral ambiguity that underpinned it was concerning, particularly when you know that that's one of the young people that are putting out messaging for the White House, right? Because we have to realize these people are going to take over important roles in our society at some point. And what do we do when people who think it's okay to shoot CEOs and it's okay to, your heroes are Tony Soprano and I don't know, the guy from Breaking Bad whose name is not coming to me.
Bryan Cranston.
Right.
Cranston.
The character has a name too, but whatever. Anyway, the point is, as those people that don't have that moral foundation start to get into positions of power, the way that decisions are going to be made are going to be changing. And we're starting to see that. So yeah, Tucker is leading, and Tucker is leading an army of these groiper type, low-life, moral compassless youths who are feeling displaced, lost, angry, and do not know the difference between right and wrong. And that's exactly the sort of person who will say, right is doing violence on behalf of my team.
You know, you're bringing up an interesting point, and Men's got to leave early, so I want to get Men's opinion on this.
I'll just let you guys know it was Walter White. I had to change that. My context is on, yeah.
Thank you. I want to get Men's opinion on this because Guy's actually bringing up a really good point, but Trump has done something remarkable, is he's appointed people into positions, like people like Pete Hegseth, who people should be looking up to. I mean, Pete Hegseth has spoken the last 2 days, and this dude has been spot on. He makes everybody want to feel like they should be serving. Listen, obviously, I love when he gives kudos to Israel, but there's so much more than that, man. He's a leader. I mean, Pete Hegseth has elevated his game into levels I don't think any of us thought that he had in him. And if I'm a kid growing up, and that's like really the fight right now. If you're a person, are you looking up to Tucker Carlson, or are you looking up to Hegseth, Rubio, Bradley Cooper from CENTCOM, Admiral Bradley Cooper? Because we have a lot of people that Trump has given us, man, that your kids could look up to.
I love it that you're coming around on Hegseth because I
never wasn't there on Hegseth.
Okay, my bad.
I was never not. Oh no, I was never not on Hegseth. My thing was with Hegseth was I didn't know if he was going to get nominated. That was my. I like Pete Hegseth a lot. There's one person that I've come around on. You know that. There's one person that I fully have come around on.
As the kids say, Hegseth is a G. He's a gangster. He's just killing it out there in front of the press.
Literally.
He's doing great. You know, it is concerning, and there's a broader concern. And this is really where it gets dangerous. And that is, we've been banging this pot for a long time, but it's the Qatari influence on our education system. My brother, who I do the other podcast, Breaking It Down with the Brothers, was in town and we went to dinner, and he told me that he just came back from, I think it was Brown University. He gives a lecture there every year. And he's conservative, and he was explaining to the kids why DEI is bad. And he was explaining to them, you know, why conservatism and Republican Party is better for them. And he's like, at the end of the class, he maybe got through to two students. Everybody else there is just so indoctrinated. They so believe. None of them knew that Trump doubled the amount that he was giving to HBCUs. I think it was $250 million is what they get.
Not just that, it wasn't just doubling. It was giving them the check 8 years in advance or 10 years in advance and not making them come and be beggars.
Yeah. And I get it that that's just Trump's MO, but I think he did it wrong. He should have given it with a bit of strings attached, that they don't indoctrinate their kids with this crazy stuff. They make the kids more patriotic. You got to love your country. If you don't have this cohesion where the people of all different faiths, all different cultures come together and say, we are Americans, we're Americans first. If you don't have that in a country, society falls apart. We destroy ourselves from within. America's not going to get destroyed from some country that's going to come and invade. The only way to destroy America is what Qatar is doing to us. That is how it happens. Qatar and China, Russia, a tiny bit, but it's really those guys. And nothing's being done about that. So that was concerning for me, is where are we headed with the next generation? You have so many kids that are pro-Hamas on these campuses. What do you think is going to happen when they grow up and become leaders of industry or in the government? We already see it. This
is why I was chilled to the bone, because they are eventually, right now we could look at them and go, oh, look at this younger generation. They're all nuts. eventually they're going to be the adults in the room.
Yeah, and a lot of them already are. You look at Silicon Valley, it's
I'm
woke
grateful
as it
I'll be
comes.
dead.
Jesus. Sunny, optimistic outlook.
It's
It's a line from
concerning.
Ben Stein, by the way. I won't be alive to see it.
Yeah, old people are checking out. They can. We're not going to be checking out. We're going to be around and we're going to be seeing it. And we just saw Gavin Newsom come out and say that there's a genocide in Gaza, and he's going on Hassan Piker's podcast. He's going on.
He also blamed Israel for the strike.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
And he called Israel apartheid.
He went full retard. Yeah.
Yeah, he went full retard. And that's really what I wanted.
He's the last refuge of desperate desperate leaders of Arab nations and Democrats to turn try to lean into the Jew hatred because they know that their publics love it.
And
you know what? It's more of a condemnation of the people that support what the Democrats know about their own base than it is of Gavin Newsom, because Newsom is just playing the game. He's doing what a politician always does. That means the Democrat research says Jew hatred is what we like.
I know, Guy, but it's not a big enough base. And Ben Stiller was angry that Trump and they clipped from Tropic Thunder. And the reality is nobody learns the lesson. You never go full retard. Right. I mean, and that's Gavin Newsom's mistake right now is he thinks he could go full retard. And I'm not using that word. He thinks you could go full on Tucker. And that's the catch in the leftist base. He doesn't have enough votes for that. We right now at this point, we could still thank God and say that to be 100% true. All polling indicates that. But go on. I want to get back to Hegseth, because he's a national treasure. And anybody catch his speeches the last 2 days. I know people might be helping writing them, but you can't write what he's saying. It's him. And
I was going to say, I'm not sure he has help writing them. They sound so unapologetically Pete Hegseth that it's either the writers he used to have.
It's Brian Kilmeade from Fox and Friends. I'm kidding, but on.
But the thing, and by the way, you know how on top of everything else, the results are the results. But you know how he's being effective? Because guess who just came out attacking him? Tucker Carlson, the guy
he called him an Israeli shill.
That's right, the Israeli shill, the Zionist shill. It's the first thing. Obviously, beyond the fact that being a Zionist is not an insult, despite the fact that they're trying to make fetch happen forever and ever. This is the last refuge of these people is, as Guy pointed out, you got nothing to do, attack them for being pro-Jewish, attack the Jews. Hegseth has been one of, and by the way,
But Hegseth also, just one second, go on. Yeah. Hegseth also realizes it's attacking Christians. So that's why he's coming out so much with Christianity and Judaism. He's doing Judeo-Christian when he speaks, because he realizes this war that so many are fighting isn't just the Jews. It's Jews first, Christians second. Go on. Hegseth realizes this. Rubio realizes this. Bradley Cooper realizes, not the jackass actor.
Yeah, no. The thing is, though, this is historically the case. I was talking to someone yesterday who doesn't know a lot about the subject, and they were asking me all sorts of questions, and I really appreciated the questions because they were genuinely trying to understand the situation. And they sat there, and for over an hour and a half, they basically just asked a question and let me monologue. Asked a question, let me monologue. And they were doing their best to really try and grasp what was going on. And one of the things that I was trying to explain to them, and I used a bunch of historical examples, was that, and I know that, Guy, you don't like this phrase, but that we're the canary in the coal mine, which is the Jews, and this is, again, historically, the minute a society starts to attack its Jews and it isn't quelled immediately, you watch that society degrade. You watch that society fall apart. Many of those societies no longer exist. The Jews are the first line of defense. The Russians initially made the Elders of Zion and the Protocols of the Elders of Zion to attack the Jews because they knew that if the Jews were undermined, then the West is undermined. This is the reason why they created the Palestinian identity in the 60s, is because everything they can do in order to bring down everybody else on the other side begins here with the Jews. And it's the same thing that Tucker's doing now. It's the same thing that everybody is trying to pull at the moment.
Absolutely. And there is You're right. And while I don't like saying the Jews are the canary in the coal mine, I think it's true to say that in outside civilizations, the Jews are canaries in the
That's what I'm
canaries
referring
in the
to.
coal
Yes,
mine.
yes.
And Israel is not the same situation, and it needs to be looked at and understood through a different lens.
I also,
But
by the way, it's a weird thing to say Jews are the canary in the coal mine. I mean, you don't see many Jews in a coal mine. So like we're more like the canaries at a smorgasbord.
Yeah, with
I
the
mean, let's be
Canaries in
honest.
the Diamond District,
Yeah.
that's great.
And Mend, if you have to leave, just let us know. Say goodbye.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Guy,
But there
continue.
was also so there's also it's also important to understand that I think to some extent the nature of Judaism and the nature of the way that Jews are in a society has always made them the reason they're the canary in the coal mine is because they've always pushed the boundaries of liberty more than any other group. We've just finished up Purim. We read the Megillah. We remember the story of Mordechai, who ticked off the evil advisor to the king by not bowing when everybody else bowed because he said the Jew should only bow to God, right? That tradition of pushing the bounds of liberty has meant that societies, as society comes for the Jews, it's really an indication of the end of tolerance of liberty in a society. And that's one of the reasons the Jews have thrived in America, because America has been the homeland of liberty for 100 years, if not 250 years.
You know why I love hearing this out of Guy, because Guy is Australian and he loves America. He loves America more than most Americans do. And he's the one that gets geeked out and has a Pete Hegseth poster on top of his on his ceiling in his bedroom. And that's what I absolutely love about Guy's reverence for people like Pete Hegseth and Brad Cooper is because you're not American, and it makes it really special when you talk about this because you were raised in a place without the Bill of Rights, without the Constitution, without any of these things.
During COVID.
Oh yeah,
Exactly. But no, it's really from your lens. It's so exciting to hear.
Yeah,
you're welcome, Judah.
So thank you. Second of all, I have always been in love with the idea of America. It was everything that I ever dreamed of the world looking like when I grew up was America, right? And one of the things that meant was it also meant that I started learning about the history of America and not just the basic stuff that people know. Yeah, one of the things you learn as you start to try to understand liberty and study philosophy is that fundamentally Western civilization has two documents we cannot live without. The first is the Bible. That is the thing that underpins Western civilization. The second is the Constitution of the United States of America. That is in my opinion, that is the single most important document written since the Bible. Because what it did was it defined a world where liberty can thrive, and it managed to stand up to every test that it has ever faced until the Democrats. It built something that other empires, other countries have crumbled before they get there. And that's one of the reasons that everything that's been happening the past 15 years or the past 20 years has really been very personal to me. Because what you see is the fraying of the edges of that constitution. What you see is attempts constantly to rewrite the rules to take away liberty. And yes, the first people whose liberties get taken away are always the Jews. But once the Jews lose those liberties, that's the foundation that the United States is built on. That's the foundation that the thing that we call the free world is built on. And that's ultimately the legacy of Western civilization that we've been carrying forward for 3,000 years.
Amen, brother. Thank you. And that was actually perfectly and beautifully put. Men, before you run, you were the one before Golan and before Guy. You were the one that was telling me personally about Al Jazeera and AJ. Guy brought up AJ2, whatever the etymology of it is. But it's interesting that CNN is allowed on the ground that who's ever in charge in Iran, and nobody knows who's in charge of Iran. This is why I joked the other day, and I'm sort of still being serious. Who is the Iranian ambassador to calling when he has to make a phone call? But CNN is on the ground, men, reporting how great life is on the ground. He just got a cup of coffee.
and now
you're like, and then you're seeing these crazy AI videos of Tel Aviv being destroyed and the bots on X just going, promoting amplifying these things. So you got to assume this douchebag from CNN is getting amplified that, hey, he just got a cup of coffee in Iran, man. No revolution going on here. And that's the point of what he's saying. Let's not kid ourselves. He's saying that the people have not come to the streets. And here's the thing, Trump has not said yet, come to the streets. Go ahead.
No, specifically, they were told not to come to the streets.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
He
that's
said stay
exactly
home.
right.
But if you want to know why there was no journalists allowed into Gaza, this is why. If you allow journalists in and there's a tyrannical regime running the place, the journalists must comply with their demands or they get their heads chopped off. So seeing CNN in Tehran doing these puff pieces about how calm everything is and how beautiful life is there and all the other nonsense they're spewing, you don't see them going to the morgue where there's 30,000 dead children from the regime that they just mow them down in January. That they're not doing. They're not going to the prisons where you see mothers that were banging on those metal doors because their children were kidnapped by the regime until their hands are bleeding and they're sleeping outside. That they're not doing. So CNN is just showing them who they really are. You know, when Trump first used the term fake media, fake news, I was like, that's a terrible way to describe it. It is absolutely the most accurate way to describe it. These guys are not interested in journalism or truth.
But you know, so this person, I'm just using her as an example. So this person I spoke to yesterday is this person who I went through this long conversation with. She asked me questions about what's the difference between Iran and the IRGC. She'd never heard any media mention the IRGC. She had mentioned them mentioning Iran. She said they kept saying Iran, and I said, well, it's not the Persian people. It's not this. And I started going through, it's not the Iranian people, it's the IRGC. She said, what's the IRGC? And this is a news watching person. She said, God, it would be really helpful because it's really confusing now that you say that. And then she said, in fact, not only did they not say that, but then they showed a clip of a Mamdani. This is what she told me on the mainstream news, that Mamdani gave a speech that after he was done condemning Trump's actions in Iran, he said, and to all my Iranian citizens of New York, I've got your back. And it's like, she's like, so they're not even, they're anti the people who are doing the thing. Like, when a regime imposes a near total information blackout and any reporting that they allow, which is like this narrow slice of life, which can easily create misleading sense of normalcy, or like they're showing the stocked shelves or you know, the normal activity in Tehran, the fact that that is allowed to be broadcast. I understand freedom of the press, I understand freedom of speech. I'm at the point now where I'm ready to tear up the document that you love so much,
Prove that you're the press, and we can talk about your freedom.
Well, I was going to ask that question because I know Mend really does have to leave, but I was going to ask that. I wanted to ask that question. I'm not kicking him out, but I want to ask this question to all three of you before Mend goes. And should Tucker be? Should Elon Musk put the muzzle on Tucker and get and ban him from X?
I believe he should, and it's not a freedom of speech thing. Tucker's so off the rails right now, and he's so toxic. And if I owned that company, I would not want someone. I have the right to do what I want in my company, and Elon has the right to do what he wants in his company. And that guy has become so toxic that I think it's bad for business to have him on the site. I get it. There's some clicks, but I think you're turning off a lot of other people, especially advertisers and mainstream media or mainstream normies that are just looking at this saying, X is a cesspool. Look at
well,
Tucker
that's
Carlson.
just, you raise a great point, by the way, because that's why Fox News got rid of him. Fox News got rid of Tucker because he was killing them in the ad with ad revenue. Okay. The second he left, ad revenue started going back. Companies would not advertise. So you bring up a great point, because we're not saying Tucker can't have a show. We're just saying Elon Musk, who owns the company, is what you're saying, should muzzle him. That's
I say yes. At this point,
so
I say
actually
yep.
I'm gonna go a different route and say I don't think that Elon Musk is the person that should be muzzling him. And there's a very serious question that I have some friends that are researching, but it's a very serious question that needs to be asked with you. At what point does it go from journalism to giving aid and comfort to the enemy? Because what Tucker is doing is not journalism. He is not reporting facts to the people for the he's for the benefit of the people. He's not participating in some sort of a civic responsibility. He is manufacturing propaganda for the enemies of the United States during a time of active conflict. It might not be a declared war, but it is an open conflict that is very open. You don't get much more open about conflict than this. At what point do you cross the line from propaganda and propaganda being under the aegis of journalism to just being treason or terrorism? And this is a serious question, because in World War II, and this is an important reference because most of the legal structures that we have today have roots in World War II. Julius Streicher, I believe, was the editor-in-chief of Der Spiegel, the Nazi propaganda rag.
Yeah.
And he was convicted as being complicit in the Nazis' murder machine because of the fact that he was responsible for putting out so much information to push people towards the mass murders that the Nazis committed by the Nuremberg trials. There is a precedent in the past that when the press goes too far, they are actually liable, complicit, and what do you do?
Well, when the Constitution, your favorite document, defined treason as giving aid and comfort to enemies, the founders were talking about the warfare of their time. If it was muskets, if it was, forts, whatever, warfare evolves. The battlefield today includes information and media, psychological influence, propaganda, everything that Tucker is involved in right now. There are, again, very narrow, specific things that are required to be hit in order for someone to be considered a traitor under the Article 3, Section 3, right?
And just one minor correction, which is that the Constitution was written at a time where warfare was muskets and cannons, but it was written in a way that allowed it to evolve.
Well, now
that's what I just said. That's literally what I just said. I said
now instead of muskets.
But I'm saying it wasn't written with that in mind. It was written with an understanding that it would evolve over time.
That is precisely my point.
Genius of the writer. I know. It's
that's
just
literally what I'm saying.
Okay, guys, we're not doing Piers Morgan.
No, but before I run,
no, wait a second. I'm not done.
Go ahead.
I'm not done.
No, he's got to run. Let's let
go on, dude. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that what Tucker and his paymasters realized with the Israel-Hamas war was that it's a hybrid war. It was an information war as well as a kinetic war. And the kinetic war, the Israelis kicked ass. And in the information war, they didn't even see it coming and they didn't stand a chance and they won. And now he's doing the same playbook to Trump on this military engagement war, whatever you want to call it. But he's doing the exact same thing. He realizes that he could gain so much more leverage just by spewing this nonsense, all this misinformation. He's doing the exact same playbook as Hamas because he's being paid by the same people that paid Hamas. On that note, I am out.
Goodbye,
I'll see you tomorrow night, God willing, brother.
Yep.
And go on. You can finish up your point.
Yeah. So just to finish my thought, because Guy, thank you for backing me up. I appreciate that. Yes.
What was the point? I've forgotten already.
The point was, I was saying that the Constitution was written to talk about the warfare of their time. At the time, it was muskets, but today it's not. It evolves, and it was designed for that evolution. And today, propaganda and online warfare is part of it. Influence campaigns can weaken a country without firing a single shot. If they shape public perception, if they undermine morale, if they amplify propaganda narratives. And countries like Russia and China and Iran, they invest heavily specifically in this strategy. Their intelligence services run disinformation campaigns designed to influence Western public opinion, and we have seen it working. The Hamas thing that Men just mentioned is by the way, we just watched it happen. We just watched a radicalization of an entire generation of people through this. And Tucker is not simply expressing controversial views. That's the point. His talking points and the things that he, as we talked about, he's laundering all of these things. He brings on someone, he asks the question in a leading way, so they say the thing, and then he goes, and he launders those crazy bad ideas. Well, now he just monologues. He doesn't even do it through guests anymore.
I was about to say that.
He's just done with that subterfuge that he had. But they are mirroring the messaging frameworks used by these foreign adversaries. These narratives that delegitimize allies and portray democratic institutions as corrupt, to me, and forget me, the law of the land, the Constitution, said very specifically, if you are providing aid and comfort, it means that you're either joining to fight, right? You're providing intelligence, you're like sneaking information, or you are helping an enemy conduct wartime operations. That's the language. That's what he is doing. So this is absolutely treason. This is absolutely him as a traitor. By the way,
It's also
that is
considered,
punishable by what, Guy?
I believe it's hanging.
I believe it is.
Okay, I see. Listen, we noticed the signs already. Guy's lips are moving. You start wrapping up your thoughts. Guy, go.
So first of all, I think that it's very important to say the Gaza war wasn't hybrid warfare. It was actually something new. It was actually cognitive primary warfare. The battle space was only ever fuel for the information space.
Absolutely.
The entire strategy that Hamas implemented from the initiation of the war and throughout the entire war was only designed to generate propaganda to feed Western audiences in order to get the West to pressure Israel into having to surrender to a fighting force that it could defeat with its eyes closed.
This is why they made sure they launched
And
all their
that's the
rockets
exact
from
same attitude that
schools
Iran
and from
has.
UN institutions and everything else. They wanted those places to get bombed so they could use it as cognitive warfare.
Right.
100% correct.
And what we're seeing coming out of Iran is talk about the IRGC moving their infrastructure into schools and into mosques, right? And again, it can't be verified. We're only hearing it from people that, we're hearing it through Iranian channels. We're hearing it through Iranian networks, but we have a limited ability to verify because of the blackout.
Right.
But we're hearing them taking that exact same approach. So when all of a sudden a girls' school on a naval base is blown up, and everybody's like, well, that's a whoopsie. Well, who are the other 84 people that weren't identified as children? And what were they doing in a girls' school? Because there are only a couple, there's a very short list of reasons that I can imagine. I don't think that they were teachers, and every other reason I can think of makes them very bad people in one way or another. The other thing that I really think that we should bring up before we leave CNN is Christine Amanpour.
She's, I don't know if God, the devil.
Well, I don't know if you've been hearing this, but she has gotten on the wrong side of the Iranian people, and they've started digging into her history. And what they found was, or what they've already published, and they've promised that there's more to come, but so far what they've talked about was that her family was very well-to-do before the revolution in Iran. She's Iranian. Her family's Iranian. Her family were very well-to-do before the revolution. They lost everything. And then sometime around the year 2000, she went to Iran, did a puff piece on Iran, trying to normalize the regime, and magically got a whole bunch of her family's property back. And since then, she's been softballing the regime, puppeting regime talking points, giving really difficult interviews to Reza Pahlavi while giving it absolutely fawning Tucker Carlson like interviews to the current president of Iran. And so the Iranian people who have started looking into this and who can read Farsi and who know the people behind the stories have started just coming out and saying, this person isn't just ideologically pro-Iran, she's a shill. We can see the paper trail for how she was rewarded for her shilling. And again, it brings us back to everything they accuse the Jews of doing is what they're doing themselves. Pete Hegseth is a shill, except in actual fact, he's not the one getting paid by the enemy to the United States to undermine the security of the United States.
Which is
right.
consistent.
And
Anything
we're
they want
reading
to
rumors
accuse.
that Thomas Massey and you were seeing rumors that Massey and MTG are being paid off. But I just want to move on just a little bit because we are running out of time. Golan, I think it's important to point out that I don't think it's working. President Trump has the highest approval ratings of any Republican at this point in their presidency. He higher than Obama in their second term. Has the highest second term among the party. I mean, he's at like 80 something percent. Incredible numbers. And when you look at the numbers on the war, if it lasts, people are like 80% of it goes 4 weeks or something. You're seeing like it's not working. What worked in Gaza and Hamas isn't working. Part of that has to do with the fact that Iran attacked every Arab country, except as people are joking around, except for France and the UK and Germany, but everybody else they've attacked, or Turkey, whoever, what else it was. No, they attacked Turkey. And so I'm not sure that war
something
is actually
fell in Turkey at the very least.
Yeah, which I wouldn't have minded, like I said, if NATO actually didn't take it out. But I think that's a big reason it's not working right now, because when you're looking at these people right now, you're starting to see the grift movement going back towards Trump. So you're seeing Laura Ingraham, Mike Knowles, Benny Johnson. They're all hedging their bets, going, I might want to side with Trump on this before he slaps the crap out of me. And so it is changing, I got to say, for the better. And Republicans are looking very good right now. I know there's this whole Cornyn thing in Texas. I get it. Heading into the midterms right now, we're looking good. And these are important things to talk about, too. Yesterday, 53 Democrats didn't vote, right? Or voted to not name Iran.
Yeah.
The state sponsor of terrorism. Yeah. The worst state sponsor of terrorism. The 53 Democrats. 53 Democrats. So as again, I go after the right a lot, guys, because that's our party, but the left is far sicker. Okay, I mean, yeah, we got our nutbags. I mean, we got Megyn Kelly.
Can you imagine? By the way, can we just touch on this for just 1 second? 53 House Democrats voting against a resolution to reaffirm Iran as the world's leading state sponsor of terror. This isn't even, let's label them. Okay, still, it wouldn't be something they should vote against. But this isn't even that. This is, since 1984, the U.S. has held this as something, and this is just reaffirming this thing as we literally are watching them in the middle of continuing to do it with proof in hand. They decided, 53 of them, nah, we're not going to do. I just want to be clear for our listeners here. This wasn't a declaration of war. It wasn't a new sanction. It wasn't authorizing military force. It wasn't saying Trump's doing a good job. It was just reaffirming a fact that the government has recognized for decades. The regime in Iran supports terrorism. Simple. Everybody knows it. So that
I want to ask. Sorry,
it's insanity. No, I got nothing else to say. I
want to ask you both this question, but I want to ask Guy first. In a short Guy answer. And I brought this up the other day. There's an absolute, full mesh right now between Israel and America, as America and Israel, as Pete Hegseth is talking about it, where Brad Cooper or President Trump's bringing it up. I think they're all in shock and awe of how well the Israeli military is doing right now, not just with the bombings in Iran, but obviously with Hezbollah and everything else. I don't know why you'd be in awe after the beepers, but the symmetry is amazing. And obviously, Guy, we're not going to know the full story for quite a while because a lot of it will be held, in secret for a long time. But the bond between the CIA, and I brought this up the other day, John Ratcliffe is bringing that agency back to its feet. And he's making them relevant, he's making them honest, and he's making them important. And we have to give him a shout out too. I was a big Ratcliffe guy. I loved him in the last admin. I had wished he was there the whole time, Guy. But the symmetry between the Mossad and the CIA is something special to watch right now.
Listen, the relationship that Israel and America have has come into a completely new form and level. And I think one of the reasons that the beepers was cool, right? The beepers was cool. It was impressive. It was a really great idea. That was that the execution was phenomenal, and the fact that it worked was the stuff of legend. But it's one thing when if you're a car guy, it's one thing when you see a cool car driving down the road. It's another thing when you can actually peek under the hood and see how it works. And I think what the Americans and Israelis are seeing right now with the level of coordination where they're operating under an almost unified command, and the Americans are seeing how the Israelis execute the sorts of things that they only usually hear about, and the Israelis are showing the Americans. I mean, there was a video released the other day of the Israelis showing the Americans what I'm gonna nickname the Israeli bunker buster. So the bunker buster is America's version of a bunker buster is we make a really, really, really big bomb, a 14,000 ton bomb, a pound bomb, I believe. And you put it on a really, really, really big plane. And all of these things are things that only America can do because nobody else in the world has those kinds of bombs or those kinds of planes. And then you fly those planes 36 hours, drop those bombs, and the bunker is gone. The Israeli planes have a maximum bomb size of, I believe, 5,000 pounds. and most of the ordnance they have is 2,000 pounds. And so the local bad guys, Hezbollah and the Iranians, thought that if you dig a bunker deep enough, the Israelis can't get to you. So what did the Israelis do? They invented a new way of essentially using the ordnance they had. There was a bunker, there was a command bunker in Tehran. The Israelis released a video of it being destroyed. It was deep enough underground that conventional weapons shouldn't have been able to get there. So 50 planes dropped 100 bombs in the space of about 60 seconds, coordinated in such a way that the bombs essentially just dug a hole to get to the bunker to kill the bad guys. And this was something that had the level of coordination, 50 planes dropping bombs on the same site. The fact that it was done with ordnance that wasn't supposed to be able to get that deep. It's the thing, the Americans are sitting there watching their own tools being used in ways they've never imagined, being like, this is badass. This is amazing.
And I wanted to, go on and say it is badass.
Yeah,
and what we're watching, and Guy just used the word go on. And it's not used enough. And I love Marco Rubio calling them lunatics in that speech, that prophetic speech that he gave in 2015, which is just insane. Anybody that watches that 3-minute speech should get chills of watching Marco Rubio predict exactly what was going to happen. But I love the word Guy used, the bad guys. Okay, they're the bad guys. There's no moral equivalence go on. There's none of this stuff of Tucker or any of these other, asshats. Iran, the Ayatollah, the IRGC, a lot of them. Just the bad guys.
I will tell you, it's funny. This is not what I want to talk about, so you still got to let me talk about the other thing. But I just want to mention that as a screenwriting professor, I always tell my students,
"You're a screenwriting professor? I did not know that.
First time I've mentioned it." But I tell my students, don't say bad guys, don't say villains. And that's when you're writing it. Because when you're writing it, you need those people to believe. You need the bad guy to think, even though he's going to murder 50,000 people, it's for the greater good. He's doing the right thing. So you can't get into your head when you're writing the villain, he's a bad guy. But in real life, you can look around and go, well, that's some messed up stuff. You're clearly the villain here. These guys are clearly the villains here. That's part of the conversation I had yesterday, where I said, oh, God, it's crazy. All these people are just supporting terrorism. She's like, oh, explain that to me, because I didn't see them ever talk about terrorism. They were talking about this, that, and the other thing. And I had to break down how all of those things that they're talking about eventually equal terrorism. Okay, this is what I did want to say. This is what I did want to say.
Get to it. Go on.
One of the most misunderstood things about Israel is why it produces such an extraordinary amount of innovation. In general, not war innovation in general. But the answer is really simple. Necessity born from constant security threats. So in the film industry, we always joke, and it's true, but it's still funny.
Are you in the film industry?
I'm going to throw you out a window. That almost every innovation that happens.
Guy wants to crack up out loud. He's holding in like the biggest belly laugh.
Almost every innovation that happened in the film industry started in the porn industry. Okay, all POV shots, multiple angles, all these things that DVDs eventually had. All that stuff started in porn and shifted over. The way they shot things, first-person shooters started in the porn industry. So all the innovation started there. In Israel, all the innovation starts in war, because since its reestablishment in 1948, Israel has had to operate under the assumption that survival depends on solving problems faster than its enemies can create them, right? It's existential. So when you think about, we were talking about the U.S. and Israel and how well they're working together, there are moments in history when alliances aren't just diplomatic arrangements, right? They're force multipliers. And when you take a force like America, who, as Pete Hegseth was saying in his speeches, is just shock and awe times 100, and it's not a fair fight, and we're just ass kickers and all the rest, and you combine that with the innovation that comes out of Israel, that extraordinary, the speed, the intelligence, the innovation, the military culture built on survival, those two working together, Israel and the United States, it's the two most capable democracies on earth operating, or whatever, republics, whatever you want to call them, operating in tandem, strategically aligned. Man.
It's like absolutely,
like the A-team. Absolutely.
I love,
no, it's like Voltron. It's even more aligned.
Wait, I got it. This is my point. This is my point.
Oh, you haven't made your point?
No, because you let everyone else talk for as long as my turn. It's not one war. It's not one crisis. This is what it looks like when the West remembers how to act like the West. That's what this is about.
You've been reading
Brilliantly
my article,
said,
the article
and
I'm working on.
brilliantly said, and
Yeah.
I brilliantly said, and can I make a nomination? I think this would be great. I want the beast, right, that Trump drives around in. I want a red stripe on it. Okay, I want a red. I want a red stripe on it, and like just like the A-Team van. And listen, a boy, how cool would that be? Branding, and that would be amazing. And sorry if I didn't let you get to your points today. Go on, but I think you did exceptional. The last thing we haven't spoken about, but I just caught this clip, and I guess it was from like a week ago, but it was from Piers Morgan. I won't watch the whole show. I'll just watch clips. So he had Cenk on, and he had Dave Smith on, who always loved to use Wesley Clark, Clark, as and Cenk Younger. I mean, and so Piers Morgan he interviewed Wesley Clark before he went on the show. And Wesley Clark pretty much disputed everything that Dave Smith and Cenk Younger have been saying about it. And he was like, no, there's no there there.
It's like the scene from Annie Hall. It's Woody Allen pulls out Marshall McLuhan. You know nothing about my work. Like this is amazing.
It was exactly right. And Cenk Younger just lost it. Dave Smith can't handle that. He's like, there's no there there. Like there's just no like you guys are like talking about something that like he's like, and they're screaming at the person that they idolize and keep referencing it. And Dave Smith's like, no, I saw you on that interview with so and so, and you said so and so, and Dave Smith and Wesley Clark is like, it's over 20 years ago. It was. I mean, you got to watch it. I've never seen the source, like the two people so defeated and deflated because they can't use Wesley Clark anymore.
Reality is a harsh mistress.
Can I tell you, by the way, you mentioned the A-Team. Can I just tell you that after our last show, you talked about it and I said I was going to figure out who was who. So I made a list. It's short. Can I just read it to you?
Caroline Leavitt is Amy Allen.
Hang on. Yeah, well, that's the easy one. Hannibal obviously is Trump. Pete Hegseth, easily B.A. Baracus. Guy called that one yesterday. Rubio, face. I mean, let's be real.
No, we had it switched. I said
no. It is no. Guy, you switched it. Guy was Pete Hegseth after the speeches he's given. He should just have a bunch of gold necklaces on at this point and shave his head into a mohawk. I'm sorry. And Rubio, calm, always like little side smirk. He is facing all over the place.
He's the face man.
And I'll say Stephen Miller, Murdoch. That's it. I'm done.
I said that, by the way.
I just had to put it all together. There you go.
I did say that, by the way, just for the record. And I got to tell you, it'd be a perfect video to make, Guy. Of
let's get AI on it, Guy.
Yeah, get the AI on it.
Get the AI team on it, Guy.
Well, we're hitting an hour of our thing, and I haven't heard a single alarm, and I want to actually bring that up as a point before we close, because this war's been going on for 6 days now, and
can you imagine it's only been 6 days? Amazing.
Today the RAND group put out a report that actually showed the number of Iranian launches by day, and it just looks like a cliff face. The number has dropped to I think less than 10%, about 10% of what it was on day one. It aligns with what Admiral Cooper was saying about the fact that about 85% of their ballistic missile launch capacity has been disabled. That over 75% of their drone launch capacity have been disabled. I don't think people understand. I think it's really hard if you're not living in the region to understand what that means. But it effectively means we're talking about opening the schools up again. We're talking about opening the economy up again. We're talking about opening the skies up again.
Well, planes have started taking off, right? Planes have...
Yeah. Within a week, this operation has been so effective that within a week, they took that looming threat of the 2,000 ballistic missiles, and the tens of thousands of drones, and they ground it into nothing. That's not to take away from the people whose lives are being destroyed because the missiles that do come do land. That's not to take away from any tragedies that occur as a result, but it's to point out a 90% reduction in the enemy's capability within 7 days is unheard of. I have never heard of something like that before in the history of warfare.
Listen, like I said, Guy, we're watching The Incredible. Like, it's literally like we're watching, like, I'm not going to say it. It's like we're watching Hannibal Smith come up with a plan, and it just...
We're hearing about the United States running ongoing operations of B-2s, just flying casually from the U.S. to Iran.
Israeli
I don't know if you guys saw this, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw this, by the way, that the UN has now come out and said we have to stop the war. This is they're incredibly consistent, decade after decade, crisis after crisis. They're always going to be on the side of the terrorists and scold the democracies, and that's exactly what's happening right now. It came out while we were doing the show that as usual, the UN was like, this could spiral out of control. I think right now, if I go to CNN.com right now, it's the headline: UN chief warns Iran war could spiral beyond anyone's control.
It's like, and it's like these same talking points from these hack. I said to you, and I do want to end. Like I said to you guys beforehand, it's like if you look at everybody that's against this thing or going, they're all failed, miserable former people that were in cable news, that had a fairly big career in cable news. So you have Andrew Napolitano, who got kicked out of Fox News for allegedly liking to inappropriately go after young men or men of all ages. I don't know if he discriminated or not. And for those that are not familiar with Andrew Napolitano, he's the one that has black hair and he's 96 years old. And you're looking at so many people. I hate that, by the way. It's one of my biggest. By the way, I don't know if you've ever seen Brian Regan's joke on that. Brian Regan, who's one of the funniest. It's
Hilarious.
Regan or Regan. I can never pronounce it.
It's Brian Regan.
It's Brian Regan, who's an incredible actor and he's incredible comedy writer. He's like, women have all these selections, for hair color. Men, it's like black or brown. And, like it's nothing worse when you see somebody that's like 80 years old and you could tell it's a bad dye job.
It's leaking down.
Yeah, it's that close. It's that close. Okay, I want to just end this on a sort of fun note because I was thinking the other day, 3 songs. I want you to think of 3 songs that are better than the original.
You mean 3-song remake?
3-song remake that were remade that are better than the original.
Commercial do we get to be here?
Do you want
I have an easy one. I have an easy one because it's not even so. Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower. That's Bob Dylan said that's not my song anymore. That's Jimmy's song.
Yeah, but okay.
Does that count?
Sort of. I was going more for. I'll give you my 3 songs and
Johnny
you guys can follow
Cash, Hurt.
it. Johnny Cash, Hurt on there.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Buckley, yeah.
Buckley or whoever else sings it other than.
No, but Buckley's, yeah, right. No, I'm with you though.
Buckley's was awesome, and Disturbed, Sound of Silence.
Oh, interesting. I'm not as big a fan of that one.
And then my backups are Romeo and Juliet by the Killers or Lawyers, Guns, and Money by the Killers.
I can't give you Romeo and Juliet. My Romeo and Juliet by Dire Straits is one of my all-time favorite songs. Can't give it to you. Man Who Sold the World, Nirvana.
Yeah.
Better than Bowie's.
That's a pretty good one. By the way, Whiskey in the Jar, Metallica. I've heard the Irish sing it. Metallica did it better.
Well, I mean, the Metallica also covered Bob Seger, and everybody thinks it's a Metallica song and I'm blanking on the name, but anyways, I just thought it was interesting. I mean, everybody could agree Hurt is definitely.
Absolutely. I think even Trent Reznor would say
Metallica's cover album in general was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Metallica had a cover album, and I love.
I don't like Duran Duran, but I love Duran Duran's the cover album they did of Duran Duran it was ska punk covers of Duran Duran songs, and Hungry Like the Wolf by Real Big Fish is way better than the original.
As Turbo brought up in the rants, I had that written down. Turbo, Tainted Love by
Soft Cell. I had that one too.
Soft Cell. I had that one. There are a lot of
Aretha
those,
Franklin, Respect.
Yeah. I mean, didn't CCR also cover? What did CCR cover? No, but CCR's been covered.
Yeah, they've been covered.
They've been covered. Okay. On that note, we've bored people enough. We found out many things about Guy. He's a Metallica fan, loves Metallica, has that poster of Hegseth above his bed.
Over his bed, right.
And
calls him Heggy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. By the
Yeah,
way, if anyone says Whitney Houston, I will always love you, you're wrong. Dolly Parton's is better.
He's part of the Hegseth he's part of the Hegseth army.
I believe it's a crusade.
Yeah, he's part of the Hegseth crusade. He's coming out with Hegseth cards.
Amazing.
Okay. The thing is, there's a point that we haven't talked about it, but Hegseth and his Jerusalem cross being the response to the Al-Aqsa flood is very poetic.
No, listen, I think your analysis of Hegseth this week has been brilliant. I mean, I really think it's been brilliant. And we've listened to some amazing speeches this week. We've gotten some, and Brad Miller just doing 2 minutes on CENTCOM was everything. And I think their messaging actually has been really good on this. I have to give them a lot of credit. And just so you know, I take no joy in Chrissy Nome being fired. I don't. You know, not everybody is meant for a specific job. And that's all I was ever saying about Chrissy Nome. I didn't think she was the person for that job. And now she's the special envoy for the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever they're calling this, the new thing run by, because Rubio didn't, Rubio's going to be in charge of Cuba.
Did you see that one, by the way, that Trump specifically was like, Cuba's going to fall and I'm going to put Marco over there. He literally just said it. You and I don't know if you remember, Judah, this is before Guy even joined the show. You and I were like, so King Marco of Cuba at some point. We were kind of joking about it.
Yeah, you know what? And it's funny, of all the jobs that he didn't ask for, I could think of this being the one where he really wants. Yeah, I could see Marco Rubio, like with boats
showing up with the cigar.
Yeah, with boats of Cuban dissidents, like him on like this big boat holding on to the front of it, doing like the very Titanic, like without his ship sinking, going, I'm the king of the world. It would be an amazing visual, but we've run out of time and we've talked way too much. I want to thank you both. I want to thank the dude for being here. I want to thank everybody that helps out this show. I want to remind everybody you could find us at thedailycheatsheet.com. I want to wish everybody a good morning, afternoon, and night world wherever you are. God bless you all.